Make it fun. Make it fun. Ha! Make it fun. I got to make it fun. Make it fun.
Cornelius, Corny Mims. How did I first get exposed to music? Music was always in my house as a young child. My parents, although they're not, they never pursued music as a profession, they happen to be extremely musical people just naturally. So for as far back as I can recall, they listened to music, they kept music, like there was always a piano in the house from as far back as I can recall. So of course that was something that I gravitated towards, was piano, and I think my mom noticed early on that, wait a minute, this kid is kind of picking out some songs, and I think he is really playing the actual song, at a really early age, like maybe 3 or 4. So.
And what instruments do you play?
At present, my principal instrument is bass guitar. I kind of play keyboard, piano as well. I would have to call that my secondary instrument, and that's about it at this point. I mean, as a kid, I went through the whole marching band of instruments. From trumpet to trombone to tuba. We tried saxophone. There was even a point in time where my mother had me set up to take accordion lessons. It's funny to me because when I finally decided I wanted to play the bass guitar, which was around 12 years old, I was like, Dad, I am convinced I've found the instrument that I want to play, and it's bass guitar. So my father was, his whole thing was like, okay, wait a minute. You've got the Guitar Center under your bed. You've got Hogan's House of Music under your bed. I'm not buying you a bass guitar. You got too many instruments to play already that are just, collecting dust now. I don't know about this bass thing. I can recall myself and my younger sister going to a Jackson 5 concert at the Fabulous Forum in Inglewood. And what was happening was, we were in the nosebleed seats, looking in the binoculars, kind of scanning the front line. And of course, Michael was the focal point at that time. He was, that was it, Jackson 5. But in any event, as I was scanning that front line with the binoculars, for some reason I got to Jermaine Jackson. And man, he just looked so cool. I didn't even know what he was doing, but he looked cool doing whatever it was.
And who are some of your musical influences?
I've got R&B influences like Al Green, Earth, Wind and Fire, the Ohio Players, the Commodores. Let me think. That's actually a tough question because there's so many influences. I've been influenced by all genres, and I try to incorporate a little bit of all of the genres into my, current day musicality. I try not to pigeonhole myself as, hey, this great R&B guy or maybe a great jazz guy. I mean, if I get called to play a rock gig, hey, it's a rock gig, and I got to rock it.
Tell me about some of the people that you work with.
Well, I've worked with a couple people,
If you want to brag a little bit, can you drop a few names?
Well, let me see. I mean, wow. Snoop Dogg, that's my boy. I did a lot of work with Snoop back in the day, and we still look cool now. Brandy, Tupac, Mary Mary, Nelly Cole. Gosh, let me think. Who else have I worked with? Michael Jackson, a young man by the name of Michael Jackson. Whitney Houston, good Lord, Luther Vandross, Howard Hewitt. Oh man, that's a tough question because there's so many people that I worked with at this point, I'm gonna say Gladys Knight. Oh my God, I had the opportunity to work with her and write and produce some things on Gladys Knight, and of course I was completely starstruck because this is Gladys Knight. In any event, such a professional she is. I've never seen anybody just just one pass vocals. You know, I mean, first take, that's it. I'm out, you know, and it's perfect. It was a sweet time in her life that I got a chance to work with her, and I reflect on this almost every day, and that's with Brandy. Brandy, I got a chance to musical direct her very first tours. And of course, she was a youngster and she was new in the game, but just such an awesome vocalist, you know, and so ready at 17, 18. You know, I mean, I love Brandy to this very day.
And what was your relationship like working with Michael Jackson?
Okay. What was my relationship like working with Michael? It's interesting because Michael's, my relationship, there were 3 different relationships, 3 very distinct, different scenarios as it pertained to Michael. My initial situation with Michael was in 1987, and that would be on the Bad album. Now, the Bad album, I was called in now, and this is funny, I did not play bass on the Bad album. A lot of people ask me all the time, so man, you played on Michael Jackson's album? You played bass on Michael? No, I didn't. What I actually did was I actually did drum programming. I did electronic, you know, some drum computer programming on a couple of the songs. And I was brought into that project via one of my mentors and a guy that took me under his wing earlier by the name of Ollie Brown. Why is music considered spiritual? Well, I think anything that can have that can affect people in so many different ways, it have to be derived from a spiritual place. You know, music has such a you know, it can affect people positively. It can affect people negatively. It can make people laugh. It can make people cry. It can comfort. It can enrage. It can outrage. You know, it has such a power. You know, music, just the concept of music, and it has been this way. I would imagine since the inception of music. You know, so I think music is just simply spiritual, just because it is. I really can't even. You know, it's one of those great mysteries. When did I finally realize that I made it? That's a kind of interesting question. In my mind, I thought I had made it in the 11th grade. I mean, I'm from Gardena, California. Gardena for life, Mohican for life. And I played, and I grew up with musicians in school, and the beauty is that even today, right here, right now, I'm still working, and we still play together a lot, just as we did as we were kids. But by the time we got 15, 16 years old, we were ready. We were pros. We were at pro level, and in my mind, you know, I mean, as a bass player, I think I might have been better at 15 than I am now. To hear something that you created from a songwriting or a production standpoint on the radio, and then to hear it over and, you know, it's getting into rotation. That was another thing. And then also I come from a band that kind of derived from some of the groups I was in as a teenager and as, you know, coming through school. And our band was called Tease. And Tease was an outrageously talented group of guys that I grew up with. And we were kids. And my man Kipper Jones and Derek Organ, Thomas Organ, Rex Salas, Joe Parson, Chucky Booker, and myself made that band up. But we got a record deal in 1983. And so once we did our first album, and then now you're seeing yourself on the back of an album cover. I'm like, oh boy, this is what I'm talking about. So, like I say, there's a few different things that have happened over the course. And here in recent times, I've been able to partner with an extremely dear friend of mine, Sandra Jones. And right now we're working in tandem on a foundation that she's put together in memory of her brother, who is one of my best friends that I grew up with, and he and I shared childhood, adulthood, everything, and he passed away a couple of years ago. But I'm now working with the Roderick D. Jones Scholarship Foundation, and that's a situation where we're able to work with young musicians, high school age, middle school age, and award them with financial scholarships. And I'm also trying to step in and, along with the financial scholarships, give them opportunities to perform and to be around the music industry and around some of the heavyweights that do it, that can share, their experiences, share their, their craft with these young kids. And we are doing a wonderful work right now, and it's just really it's really a rewarding experience right now to be working with the Roderick D. Jones Foundation, along with the other situations that I'm involved in, so that's kind of, again, yet another motivator, the RDJ Foundation.
What advice would you give to someone that's thinking about getting involved in the music industry?
What advice would I give to someone that's thinking about getting involved with the music industry? Don't do it! No. No, if you're thinking about getting involved in the music industry, one thing, if it's music that you're looking to get into, because like I said, when you think about the music industry, or when you say industry, that opens up a very wide, broad spectrum of potential careers in music. So now, also be mindful of the fact that the music industry does encompass a lot of different career opportunities. Everybody can't be Beyonce, and then the other thing is, Beyonce can't be Beyonce without the plethora of other careers that are attached to Beyonce. But then if it be music, if it actually is music, if you are an instrumentalist or vocalist, the greatest foundation you could possibly have, and this is why I'm so thankful for the way myself and many of my colleagues and my classmates that we came up here in Gardena, we know music. Music, man. If that's what it is, know music.
What is your legacy, and how would you like to be remembered?
What is my legacy, and how would I like to be remembered? Let me start with how I'd like to be remembered. I'd like to be remembered as a man that did his thing musically. Definitely, when Cornelius Mims is involved in the scenario, he makes a difference, a positive difference in whatever the scenario is. So I want people to just think, man, I had a lot of fun with Corny. But now as far as legacy goes, I'm happy right now and content right now with the fact that I have been a part of enough things, and especially recordings, that, and I mean wonderful, great stuff that will live beyond me. So I think the work that I've had the opportunity to be a part of and have an involvement in that made a difference in it, it'll live even beyond my years here on earth. And that will carry my legacy on further.
All right, thank you for the interview.
You're very welcome, brother.
It's time I do something for me.